yeah!
What is happening today? We cannot tell you how happy we are to have you here, so we're not even going to try.
Outtake.
We are the podcast guys, me and Loren. I've been a morning radio show host, a voice actor, a stand-up comic. My issue is holding the job. Ladies and gentlemen, you think everybody loved Raymond? Everybody loves Loren Scott. And I'm here to tell you, nobody on this planet loves Loren Scott more than Loren Scott. Ladies and gentlemen, he's right there. Welcome to the show. Don't jump! Is it the pandemic? It's a window washer.
One day, the Western Regional District Manager of Foot Locker comes into our store there, and he's coming over to me. He's like, "So, Loren, how do you enjoy working at Foot Locker?" And I'm truthfully saying, "Oh, I love it. It's great. I really love running, and I know all about the running shoes, so I can give the customers information. It's really great." And this is where I should have stopped. My buddy Brian, who's now assistant manager over at, I forget what the mall was, him and I are hoping to have our own running store someday. And so this is really, great, prep for that. And he's like, "Really? Oh, okay, great." And like the next day, I get a call from Larry Weaver saying, "Hey, Loren, we're going to be scaling back and just having two guys now, just a manager and assistant. So we don't really need a third guy anymore. So we're going to have to let you go. And just, come on in and pick up your paycheck."
Everybody.
Huh?
We're scaling back on everybody that wants to become our direct competition.
Yeah, at 17 years old, So I come in like the next day to pick up my paycheck, and I walk in and there's some chick behind the counter, and I'm like, "Who are you?" And she's like, "Oh, I'm the new third man." And I'm like, "Really?" And I look over and Larry and Mike are standing over there, going to, "Yeah, Loren, you really shouldn't have told the Western Regional District Manager that you plan on opening up a competing business someday." And I'm like, "I'm 17. I mean, really?" And I didn't know anything about, wrongful dismissal and all that other stuff, or I would have, maybe contacted my attorney. But
you'd have a sexism case today, no question.
Yeah. So I took my hefty paycheck for $17.85 or something about that, and left in a huff. So
left in a huff?
Yeah.
I don't remember that. Was that like a Nissan?
Yeah, it was a Pacer.
Huff car?
I got a gig working the midnight to 6 a.m. shift at Quad 106, Sacramento's best hit radio.
Did they make you talk like that?
Yes, it was required. Come up with these ideas for these little satire commercials and put a few of them on with the program director, Tom Chase's permission. And this particular one I was working on, I got it done, and I called my roommate Jay, and I played it for him over the phone, and he's like, put it on, at 2 a.m. after the minute work thing is done. I says, "Well, I got to check it out with Tom first." And he goes, "He's not going to be listening at 2 a.m. Put it on." And so I put it on, and it hadn't gotten 3/4 of the way through the commercial, and the business line rang in there, and I knew I was in trouble. And I picked it up, and it was, Quad 106, and it was Tom. And he's like, "Loren, tonight will be your last night. You can pick up your check tomorrow." And I can kind of sort of recreate the commercial for you if you'd like. "And how can someone change lanes only inches in front of another vehicle and not use the rearview mirror signal? At the Ted Kennedy Grace Kelly School of Driving, we'll show you how. Here's what one of our graduates, Mr. G. How It Hurts, had to say about the school. Before enrolling in this school, any minor fender bender would keep me cooped up in the hospital for weeks. Since graduating from the school, I can cause any major accident on any major highway and escape virtually unscratched." And then the music kicks back in again, and it goes, "One of our recent graduates, former newscaster Jessica Savage, had this to say about the school." And if you don't know, her car had just recently rolled over into a canal and she drowned. And so I had a cup of water, and I went, and then music kicks back in, and it says, "President and General Manager Ted Kennedy had this to say about his school. well, first of all, I would just like to say this about that I think it's just great. And then the music kicks back in and it's like, the Ted Kennedy Grace Kelly School of Driving, not affiliated with the Columbia School of Broadcasting. And then there's the car squeal and the crash and it goes, classes start February 2nd. So yeah, I got let go from Quad 106, Sacramento's best tit music.
That's one of the most crass, insensitive, inappropriate things I've ever heard in my life. And it got you instantly terminated from a legitimate Quad 106 radio station in Sacramento. Hugely insensitive to the victims' families, their extended family, and the millions of people around the world that knew and loved them. So we've got a cool story about Kobe Bryant memorabilia.
All right, so speaking of Kobe Bryant, I got a commercial about him.
No. I got fired from Wiener Schnitzel, actually.
Really?
Yeah, it's a story. I don't know that it's an entertaining story.
Okay.
I hadn't worked there long, and you may remember from your very brief stay at Burger King that at the end of the shift, and there were like 10 things to do. Somebody cleans the grill, somebody cleans the shake machine, somebody cleans the bun steamer, somebody, steams their buns, whatever. So I went by the store the next day, and the person working told me that I had been fired, along with the guy I was working with the night before. So I said, well, what happened? And they had left a list of like 5 things that weren't done on closing that were fireable offenses. So I looked at them and they were all 5 things the other guy was responsible for, and my 5 were all perfect.
Yeah.
And they said, Mr. Ghilardi's coming back later. I sat down on the curb and didn't move, and he came back about 2.5 hours later. And when I could, I got a minute with him and I explained everything that happened. And he looked at me and said, I've only done this one other time in my career, terminated someone and let them come back. And he said it was a mistake. And he did give me my job back. And I was with him.
You made him regret it.
I was with him almost 2 more years, which was a heck of a long time during high school.
Oh, yeah. Well, very cool.
$20 a month motorcycle payment. And then I was home after that was all resolved and we're eating dinner, because families used to do this, kids. They would actually sit around this, what was that thing called? Oh, yeah, dinner table. And have, what was that stuff? Oh, yeah, food. And I said to my dad, Dad, I got fired at work. And my dad was a nice, jovial guy, and he wasn't violent at all, but he had a look on his face that I didn't want to see again. And I said, but it all came out okay. So I
nice. Very cool.
Heard from Wiener Schnitzel. You work Wiener Schnitzel your junior and years in high school, and you don't date a lot because you smell like a chili cheese dog with onions.
Yeah.
Well, there were a couple of plump girls that hung around me a lot, but otherwise, plump. People would be angry with that.
No. So
I don't know many, but I know they'll all be plump.
Yeah. They plump when you cook them,
That.
says the cannibal to the, whatever.
Coming up right after this on the end screen, you'll see our next video. Check that out if you haven't seen it. Very funny story. Loren tells about getting fired from Burger King when he was 16 years old. Check that out. That's coming up next. I think people usually like outtakes.
I got nothing.
You know how long I wanted this penthouse suite in the skyscraper in New York City, Loren, and I'll tell you, it cost me a pretty penny. But when they vacated,
I'm trying to think of the Wipeout song. Never mind. Huh?
so let me do that right now, and then I'll edit that in.
We're doing what? I didn't hear you.
Hey, Loren, coming up at the end of our video, I want to let our watchers.
You froze.
Okay.
Yeah.
Coming up right up.
Boy, that sounded such like a DJ. You should do DJing for a living.